Welcome to the Bronx Cheer Basketball Show. I'm your host, Nathan Callanan, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jack Lynch. We're coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, where it's currently 8:27 p.m. on Tuesday. There we go. I'm back, Jack.
Some things never change.
On Tuesday, the 19th of October, 2021, we are back. The Bronx Cheer Basketball is back, and the NBA season, by the time you're watching this, is probably starting in a couple of hours. So this will be a part one of a season's predictions. We're going to try and predict where the first part of these teams will finish, especially in comparison to where they finished last season. We'll touch on the Ben Simmons saga and also Kyrie Irving's antics. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you're listening on whatever podcast app you're listening from, hit that subscribe or follow button. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. JL, we're on TikTok. Don't forget that.
Really? You've made the jump.
So it's going to be a great show. It's time for tip-off. Once again, welcome to the Bronx Cheer Basketball Show. I'm joined by a guy, let's refresh it again. I'm joined by a guy who scored a bucket on Ben Simmons. JL, how are you?
Mate, I don't quit on my team, so I am fantastic.
Did you see the video today of him in the first practice? And basically when practice ended, they got in the huddle. He just straight out walks out. He walks. Did you see it?
Oh, boy. No, I didn't. Oh, this is music to my ears, mate.
So Ben Simmons has had his first practice. It was sort of today, yesterday. You know, we're here in Melbourne. We're like, I don't know, more than half a day away from Eastern American time. But the Sixers and Ben are reunited, but it's not a happy marriage at the moment. It's anything but. I got to tell you, JL, we did have a bit of a hiatus here, but I got to say, I reckon we may have chosen the best off-season to have a hiatus. There was absolutely nothing going on.
No, it's been dreadful. There's no. I mean, we say this, but we could have just beaten the dead horse for weeks and weeks about Kyrie and Ben. So have we actually missed anything other than what we already know?
That's right. That's right. If there's, I was thinking that whole off season, you know, and I was going and starting the Bronx Cheer football. If you're into soccer, football, whatever you call it, make sure you go check out that other show of the Bronx Cheer. And I was thinking to myself, perfect time to be, you know, away from basketball because this whole Ben Simmons crap has been such bullshit. As a Sixers fan, just to comment on it, like, I don't know. I trust in Daryl Morey, and I think that he's played it right. You know, I want to get the right package for Ben. But, man, Ben has really made it difficult for us.
I think Daryl's made it difficult for you as well. He's asking for the world and more.
Yeah, well, I think that, I mean, we can't spend too much time on it, but I think that...
we will. We're not just not tonight. Every single episode, we're touching back on this.
We will get to the Sixers in our predictions next week, but yeah, we'll talk about the Sixers next week. Everyone's sick of hearing about the Ben Simmons saga. What I can tell you, all our audience, is that Ben Simmons is not going anywhere anytime soon. You got the same feeling?
All-Star break, surely. He can't be there post All-Star break.
Yeah, no, I reckon definitely... I reckon the most interesting time that is to come is the trade deadline, you know, around then, which is the All-Star break and that. But until then, I don't think anything's going to happen. We're waiting for like your Beal or your Lillard, and they're not really moving at this stage.
But I feel like it's in Philly's best interest to get him out ASAP because obviously, even with Ben playing, you're going to be in the playoff contention. And it's more of a how much time can we get Embiid and hypothetically Beal or Lillard or whoever it may be, time to coexist and adjust together.
Yeah, I just think that right now we have to wait. Unfortunately, with those types of caliber players, we have to wait for Beal to ask out. You know, there's the whole Dame thing. Unfortunately, the way I see it, Dame, regardless of if he does want out, I don't see Dame ever being the type to ask out mid-season. So I reckon that ship has sailed for this season. And Beal, I reckon we're waiting on Beal in terms of that's the most realistic before the trade deadline star. And it's so interesting to see what happens. Also, Kyrie Irving, I thought it was a funny note to put in that the last sort of Google Docs that we had for our episode, JL, I had Kyrie Irving said he got fined for saying, like this time last year or something, I do not talk to pawns. My attention is worth more. And you know, nearly a year later or whenever this is in the future, we're dealing with more Kyrie Irving bullshit.
Some things, mate, like you stumbling on introductions, some things never change.
He's what's your, we're doing predictions here. What's your prediction on Kyrie Irving? Will he get the vax, or will he get the vax before New York's laws? Who will win the race, basically?
Did you see my notes on this? I even wrote my prediction on this in our doc, and it says,
all right,
my hopes are that Brooklyn,
you know what?
I want them to be absolutely flying. I want them to be first in the East by a long way. And Kyrie, either one way or another, Kyrie's been sitting out, and Brooklyn are first in the East, dominating, blowing teams out by 20, plenty of high fives on the bench. And then either the mandate's going to change or Kyrie's going to get vaccinated. I don't know which one, but I hope he comes back and absolutely ruins it. I just want all those cogs to fall apart and just all chemistry going. That is my dream. In terms of your question, what's going to be first? I got no idea. Probably New York changing their mandate, honestly. I know nothing about their politics in New York, but surely Kyrie's not going to change his mind now.
All right, well, let's get straight into it. Let's start off with the Atlanta Hawks at the top of the alphabet. Our predictions for them. So last season, the Hawks, wow, what a surprising season. They showed us their intentions in that offseason that they wanted to come for real. You know, they got Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they also picked up all those players. I mean, they picked up, was it Lou Williams last year they went and got?
They did.
And then
Rondo?
Rondo they went and got. They also went and got Chris Dunn and Danilo Gallinari, and it's just, we mean business. And you know what? Considering, you know, the team they had, I thought that they did well. They took a game off the Bucks. It was 4-1, wasn't it?
I think so.
The conference finals. They took a game off the Bucks. Of course, they beat the Sixers in 7 in the second round of the playoffs. So they finished, the Atlanta Hawks on the table finished
fifth,
just below the New York Knicks.
They
would
beat
you
the
believe
Knicks in
it?
the first round.
So what are you thinking about the Atlanta Hawks this season?
Okay, first prediction is, I don't think if Trae Young's open underneath the basket. No, sorry. I don't think if a 6'9" player is open underneath the basket with Trae Young defending them, they're going to pass out to the 3-point line at all this season. I reckon that's happened once so far in the off-season, or in the postseason. That'll do it. But in terms of what the Hawks are going to do, it's one of those weird things, and I've popped this in the notes here, and it sort of happened with OKC back in like 2011. It'll probably happen with Phoenix again this year, when it's a young team that for the first time succeed, go deep, and then no one really rates them because it's like, oh, that's a fluke. That's not going to happen again. And I've kind of got that feeling with this. Like, you look at them and they're not that good in a way. Like, they've got Trae Young, who obviously is proved his worth and shown why he's going to be one of the top players in the league in a few years. But then there is a big drop-off. Obviously, Bogdanovic can play, John Collins can play, Gallinari can play, Capella can play, but it's very much Trae Young and the other guys. They're deep. They've got about 12 blokes that can play 20 minutes, but I don't see that number 2 option, you know, like Chris Middleton became from Milwaukee. They'll be top 4 in the East, but I wouldn't peg them for conference finals again.
You think top 4? Are you leaning more towards they might edge, like if they're going to fall a little bit, or you think that's higher than last season? I think
it's higher, but it's higher in terms of standings, but not in terms of Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that. I mean, the East should be heavier up the top this year anyway. With Boston should be back up there. Milwaukee, we know, are definitely going to be up there. Miami could be back up there. New York even probably better than last year. Chicago even better than last year. I mean, like the East has only gotten better, I think, overall. And I don't think Atlanta, they might win games. I just don't think they're going to have good success in the postseason.
That little comment on Boston being up the top. Well, the Boston Celtics are next, but I'll just finish on the Hawks before we get to the Celtics. I think that the Hawks, look, come at me all you want, but the Hawks definitely, received a bit of luck facing this Sixers team that loves to implode in the second round of the playoffs. They are good. They've got good players. But as you're alluding to, for me, it's just simple. Miami, Brooklyn, Milwaukee. That's like and then there's a fall off. I think that Philly should be in that top tier. But our troubles with Ben Simmons is put us in the next tier down with these types of teams. Obviously, these players are going to grow, like Kevin Huerter, Okongwu and Hunter and Trae Young.
See, they're deep. It's just there's no one that I can rely on other than Trae.
Yeah. And he's still, of course, a liability on the defensive end. There's still something about it that they're just not quite, for me, ready to get anywhere near that top tier. Let's move on to your Boston Celtics, who you just mentioned. Correct me if I'm wrong. You putting them in the top tier with Milwaukee, Miami?
No. Did you hear the teams I listed? I didn't mention Brooklyn.
I'm pretty sure
I mentioned Chicago. I mentioned New York. I'm saying these are the teams that are getting better in the East. And they're the ones that are going to be potentially jumping Atlanta.
That's right.
Boston, I really don't know what to... When we got rid of Kemba, I was like, thank fuck Kemba's gone, because for the money, it's not worth it. That being said, you look at the ins we've had, and it doesn't really strike me as a deep team. But that being said, it's almost like the Atlanta situation. It's just got a lot of guys that can play good minutes there and can hold their own. With Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who, I'll talk about them all day. I think what's going to make Boston a deep playoff team, if they can get there, what's going to make them take that jump will be Robert Williams. And once again, I've been saying this for a while. I think he's the piece that he raises the Celtics ceiling. If he stays where he is now, Boston's going to finish 6th in the East, 5th or 6th. Whereas if he can take a leap and become what DeAndre Jordan was for the Lob City Clippers, or someone like that, that's where Boston's going to shine.
The Boston Celtics. So that last season they finished 7th. Hilarious, loved it. I can see them going. I can see them going up It's a tough one, because and also Brad Stevens. Yes, he's now GM, and that's still a position to be in. But there's no more Brad Stevens in terms of. I would always talk about how Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and he would elevate your level. Is it Ime Udoka?
Yeah.
The new coach was previously an assistant at San Antonio and even Philly. I don't know. I'm a bit I'm a bit cautious about where I'm going to put Boston. In our preseason predictions last season, I think I put them 3rd or 2nd or something like that. I'm going to put them. So they will finish 7th. I'll give them 6th, just for you. All right, that's my little present to you.
No, I think it's almost nice having no pressure though. I don't think anyone's really putting them on the map or actually taking them seriously this year, and it depends how much of a jump Tatum and Brown can make. Obviously, Tatum's sort of already at that top 10, top 15 level. If Brown can sort of reach in there and that, a consistent top 20 to 30 sort of guy. But we've heard for so long how good Langford's going to be, and Nesmith, even Peyton Pritchard. And it's one of those things where Boston's a weird team where it's kind of like a small market, but kind of not. Where small markets have their young players and their fans just are obsessed with them, even though they're going to pan out into nothing. Boston's in that weird sort of period where their fans still do that, but the media doesn't really get around them. So I don't really know where those three players lie. But if they can take that step that Danny Ainge predicted before he left, there's a chance they can elevate, but I'm not sold.
And just a hilarious note on the Boston Celtics. They swept the Philadelphia 76ers in the bubble. When we, in that season when we had Al Horford and Josh Richardson on the court with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And Brad Stevens, in charge of picking the team, is like, you know what? They were terrible. I'm going to bring in Al Horford and Josh Richardson. Nah, it is very different, but it's like, okay.
It helps when they've got players that can just shoot around them.
Yeah, definitely. Enjoy Josh Richardson because
he's not getting any minutes.
Daryl Morey, man, what a downhill sort of slide he's been on since leaving the Miami Heat to come to Philly. Daryl Morey made a beautiful trade to, we sort of traded.
Do you mean Houston?
Him and pardon?
Do you mean Houston?
Josh Richardson?
Oh, I thought you meant Morey's went on a slide, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No, Jay Rich.
Yeah.
We traded. Daryl Morey came in, and then he traded a pick and Jay Rich for Seth Curry. And at the time, I was like, "Whoa, that's a bit of a weird one." But Seth Curry, what a beautiful fit for the Sixers. Josh Richardson went to the Dallas Mavericks and barely got minutes because he's such a weird player. He had the perfect role when he was at Miami because he was sort of their best player or their highest scorer on a fringe playoff team or a not making the playoffs team. That's where Josh Richardson can give you 20, 25 points a game, 21 points a game on a fringe playoff team or a shitty team. But when it comes to helping out, a good team, he's proven that he's just too weird. He's got a weird shot.
He can't shoot.
He's not. He can hold the ball, but he's not creative at all. He's not a point guard.
He's got this rep as a good defender, and I haven't yet to see it. I think he's average.
Yeah, and there's that as well. He takes off games. I know all defenders do, but he takes off games defensively. He's just hilarious, and it'll be interesting to see. After the Boston Celtics didn't want to pay Al Horford that big contract, it's funny that you get him back on it. But moving on, let's talk about who I would call the favourites to win the championship, and I'm sure many would, the Brooklyn Nets. They lost Chris Chiozza. Is it Chiozza or Chiozza?
Mate, I've got no idea.
Spencer Dinwiddie went off to Washington. Jeff Green also departed, and they let Tyler Johnson go, which is sad.
Meth Curry.
DeAndre Jordan, who was brought in as part of the three best friends, was soon shoved to the back for what's their big man? Who's that they like? Their Claxton.
Yeah.
Claxton.
I forgot about him.
He soon took the minutes off DeAndre Jordan. Landry Shamet, who I honestly didn't even know until today because he signed a contract extension or something today, has gone to the Phoenix Suns. I did not know that Landry Shamet was on the Phoenix Suns.
He's gone.
So those are the outs for the Brooklyn Nets. LaMarcus Aldridge unretired.
He's back.
His heart is okay apparently. Your man Javon Carter has come from the Phoenix Suns, and he's a great backup point guard. You'll see it, everyone. Him. Patty Mills, good on you, Patty.
Can we get some FIBA Patty? If FIBA Patty rocks up to Brooklyn,
yes,
it's over. They don't want Kyrie back if that's the case.
Why would you? FIBA Patty is the greatest player ever pick up a basketball, and also a bit curious. Quick one. Let's start it off. What's your thoughts on the inclusion of Paul Millsap? How much does that elevate their level?
I mean, if Paul Millsap if he came to Boston, I would think that's not a bad pickup. Give me 16 minutes a game, but for 4 of those minutes, you're going to go out of bench lineup and we're going to give you the ball. And I think there's a few points there, like Jabari Parker was meant to be for Boston last season. Paul Millsap on this Brooklyn team is going to do fuck all. He's not. Yeah. He's barely going to touch it. He's not going to go because they've got enough talent where they're not going to need a bench scorer to target bench units. They're fine. They don't need him. He can't rebound anymore. He can't defend. Useless acquisition.
That's it. Yeah, no, so that is an interesting one, but everyone just is lining up, of course, to try and get a ring. The Brooklyn Nets finished last season. You know, when you look back on it, you know, it's amazing that they finished second in terms of how many injuries they had all year. They basically didn't play together all year, the three of them. And they got a similar story coming into this season. But, I mean, I'd assume they're going to want to try and give it their all this season in the regular season, just because that's the way it sort of normally goes. I'd have the Brooklyn Nets jumping from second to first. What about yourself?
They'll be number one in the East until Kyrie comes back, as you know. They should finish first. I think they should be the favourites to win it all. I think they probably convincingly are, but you don't often see a team of this caliber with this much firepower with so many question marks. So,
yep.
You know, it didn't feel like when LeBron, D-Wade and Bosh signed, it was like, this is how it's going to work and everyone could see it. Whereas now it's like, none of them are good or great passers. Harden is, but the other two, not so much. You've got injury histories. You've got the vaccine now, which who would have thought about that 12 months ago? There's just a lot of question marks and just don't know how it's going to go.
Let's move on. The Charlotte Hornets, sort of not on the same side of the table. They finished 10th last season, and they're a bit of a tricky one. They had a terrible loss in the preseason. But
yeah, what was that about?
Not to make anything of that, but I can't believe this, JL, but Bismack Biyombo doesn't have a team. He's out of the league, it seems.
Mate, team's getting too busy for Bismack.
What is that? What is it? Just Busy? Is that his nickname, Busy?
I think so. Surely, unless you want to roll with Smack, but I think Busy's better.
Yeah, so it hurts me a little bit to see that Bismack Biyombo is out of the league. He's just always a fun character. Devontae Graham, who was sort of a couple of seasons ago was nominated for Most Improved, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
is now at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Martin brothers have been split up. The Caleb Martin is in Miami. Cody Martin is staying in Charlotte.
Can you tell me a difference between the two of them?
No.
I genuinely wouldn't have a clue who's the good one.
No, I would have no idea. They brought in Book Knight, Iwundu.
Mate, stop reading it and just read my comment there. They didn't bring anyone in that's noteworthy. Just cut straight to the point.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You reckon Ish Smith is going to be a difference maker?
I'm trying to, just in case there's any Charlotte fans, I'm trying to be formal about it.
Gordon Hayward looked good. Gordon Hayward looked good on media day. So if you're a Charlotte fan, you've got that going for you. Charlotte, they'll be 10th, maybe 11th, maybe 9th. They're not making the playoffs. I don't care about Charlotte. I do enjoy. I can't believe that I enjoy watching LaMelo Ball, but I really, really do. Kelly Oubre Jr. He's going to bring in some Instagram followers, and that's about it.
That's it.
I love my boy Terry Rozier. He's playing well. He's actually playing to his contract, which no one thought he would. Miles Bridges can play. Hayward I mentioned. But that's really about it. And it's not a team that strikes me as... All those players I mentioned are quite one-dimensional. And that's not a playoff team.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be disappointing. I think there might be a few people thinking that the Hornets are gonna uprise.
Really?
And we're gonna get a bit
Who's
of
thinking that?
Well, because that's what they're at. I know everyone's sort of aiming to do that. Some teams are trying to tank, but with Gordon Hayward and if a full season of Gordon Hayward, second year of LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges and PJ Washington, Terry Rozier,
Ish Smith.
They're trying to climb up the mountain, but I think we're going to get more of the Atlanta Hawks from before last season effect, where they just get dumbed down because you realize they don't have enough good players. They just don't have enough good players. So, other than the ones that I named, that's about it, and they're not even that great. Some of them. talking about the Atlanta Hawks example, I think the current Chicago Bulls are pretty much a replica of what the Atlanta Hawks did in the last offseason. They've put the foot down and they said, it's time. We're coming now. We're being serious. We're getting some good players. They brought in Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, the GOAT, some call him, DeMar DeRozan, Derrick Jones Jr., who I think is a good defender at times. And, of course, they've got their Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and others. Tell me about the Chicago Bulls. They finished last season 11th. Surely they're going up.
They were in that group that I listed before of, surely jumping up. Lonzo, who, he's been criticised for so long, and I think he's finally found his role in the NBA, and is becoming quite a good player. Not going to be an all-star, but will almost like a Kyle Lowry for a while. Obviously, Lowry did elevate a little bit higher, but just makes his teammates better. Especially when he's got scorers around him like LaVine, Vucevic, and DeRozan as well. He's just going to be able to play his game of pushing the ball in transition and, passing in the half court. And I think that's going to work well for him.
Some people have asked the question about DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo, of course. Of course, you got trying to fit in Patrick Williams and Zach LaVine, all who can throw the ball at the hoop, unlike, number 25 for the Sixers. Or will throw the ball at the hoop. What do you think about the fit, of these players? If they all have a bad shooting night, it can look pretty horrendous. I know that Vucevic is a shooting center. He's probably the most, only offense center there is. There's Jokic, but Jokic does a bit of everything, to be honest. He's like a much higher caliber player. How do you think this is going to go on their worst nights?
I mean, any team on the worst night's pretty awful, and I think with DeRozan shooting a lot of long twos, it's probably going to be a lot of back iron and a lot of long rebounds. But no, I reckon they're going to be a good team. I think LaVine is where, maybe a hot take. I don't know if this is hot or not. This is my take anyway. LaVine is better than Devin Booker.
Oh, I reckon that's a hot take.
So,
yeah.
And I think, this year, it always takes 1 year of, it takes a few years of, he's scoring well, but it's empty stats, so it's a low efficiency. Oh, he's scoring well, his efficiency's gone up a lot, but they're not winning. And then all of a sudden they start winning and everyone's like, I told you he was good from a long time ago. I think he's at that point now where they're going to win games and people are going to realise how good he is. He's not going to be double-teamed anymore. He can dish the ball. He's got 3 other scorers there that can help him out, especially with the spacing from Vooch. He's going to be able to get to the rim with ease this year.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. I am looking forward to this whole experiment and seeing how it goes. It should go well, you'd think. And DeMar DeRozan is one of those players, similar a little bit to Jimmy Butler, that even if he's not going to shoot the ball, finds a way to get fouled. Even if the paint is packed, which it shouldn't be because of Vooch, he finds a way. So it'll be good for Zach LaVine to have the pressure taken off him sometimes. And I'll say they'll be definitely higher than 11th. I think they're going to be, as mentioned, in that pack fighting for 5th and below.
Did you see that preseason game that was just full of highlights?
I didn't.
LaVine was throwing them down. DeRozan had a few. Caruso and Lonzo were just there. Lonzo's eyes were lighting up at the sight of Caruso because he was throwing in that many passes. This is going to, in America, how when you get league pass, you get 5 teams. This would be a definite league pass team if we had that.
Yep, that's it. Well, it's going to be interesting. The Chicago Bulls. All right, let's make this quick, even though you've got so much writing here. The Cleveland the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've lost the GOAT, Dellavedova. He's come down to the NBL. And they also lost Larry Nance Jr., Taurean Prince, and that's about it. They brought in Ed Davis, Taco Fall, Larry Markkinen, and also, of course, last season with the Harden trade, they've got Jared Allen now. They've got the young kids such as Sexton, Garland, Sexland, Okoro, Shetty Osman. You've got a lot to say about the Cavs.
I don't really. So I've just got a lot of notes here on Kevin Love. Because, I don't know. What's going on with Kevin Love, Nave? Is he...
I don't know.
I felt like a trade's been coming for like 2 seasons. And then he signed a 5-year deal. And we're like, what the fuck is going on with Kevin Love? He's not good. He's just genuinely not a good basketball player anymore. They're owing him $64 million, I think, for the next 2 seasons. He can't play defense. He used to be known as someone that stretched the floor, but now all the other power forwards and centers can shoot the ball pretty much as well as he can. So that skill is pretty much a moot point. I mentioned it already. He just can't defend at all. The only one time he did was against Curry in the Game 7 of the finals, and somehow he managed to get a stop there. That's a fucking miracle. He doesn't even rebound anymore, which was his best skill. And not only that, he stops the other guys getting minutes. So, is Kevin Love getting traded? I feel like Cleveland probably want him out, but who the fuck wants Kevin Love? That's my little rant.
Yeah. Who wants that contract? I believe he's on a massive contract still. And as you're saying, why do you want to pay... Why does anyone do, even Cleveland, like the waivers? Why does anyone want to, trade for that contract? It's useless at the moment, even for like a championship team. It's just...
And they're not going to buy him out. He's got too much money there. He's genuinely stuck in no man's land.
That's right. He's just going to keep rotting away, and it's going to keep hurting Cleveland. So, higher or lower than 13th?
Lower somehow. No, I mean, they'll probably stay around the same. They're not ready to jump up, but they'll win a few games because I don't know, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. I like them, and I've got there in the notes that for some reason Colin Sexton gets criticised more than probably any other young player in the NBA, and he's not even on a big market. He's in fucking Cleveland, and people still talk shit about him. I don't get it.
And there's all those rumors all the time. There seems to be a lot of rumors.
Yeah, what does he do? Why does he piss everyone off so much?
Yeah, they don't like playing with him, or he doesn't like playing with them, or something. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. I don't know if he's going to end up on the Sixers for Ben Simmons. I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, over to our first look at a Western Conference team. We're going in alphabetical order here. The Dallas Mavericks, who, of course, have some significant names on their team. They've gotten rid of, or JJ Redick has retired. Josh Richardson's gone. They brought in Moses Brown, Sterling Brown, Reggie Bullock, and Frankie Smokes Ntilikina. They still have, of course, Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis. They have Boban, Tim Hardaway Jr. Not a bad team. The main guy, of course, is Luka Doncic. Surely Luka wins MVP this season. Surely.
If I had to bet, I'd be saying it's either Luka or Josh Giddey. Surely one of the two of them. But there we go. I've got him. No, Luka. I picked him for MVP last year. Didn't pan out, but I don't know. Surely he's probably the best player in the NBA in terms of the situation. You've got players like Giannis who will probably be taking it slightly more easy in the regular season. You've got LeBron who's going to be in the same thing. KD, he's going to be sharing minutes with Harden. Luka's that one he's got the ultimate green light. He's got nothing to worry about. It's just him putting up 25 shots a night and seeing what happens. If he can elevate them to, a 3 seed, that's his MVP well and truly.
Yeah, I can't imagine him not being an MVP favourite for pretty much the rest of his career, and I think this might be the year that he gets it. Just something feels like he was frustrated last season with, multiple variables, and I think he's just not going to take shit this season, Surely they've had a word to him about the whole... because the NBA is now... not calling some of the... What are they not calling? The fake
That lean in
jump.
there's no actual name for it, but the James Harden, the Steph Curry, the Dwayne Wade. I think
Yes.
Dwayne Wade made it a thing. We got to give him credit.
So I
for
think
that.
in general, we can expect the referees to crack down a bit harder on, unfortunately, some of the things we have come to expect from Luka, which is like whinging and expecting fouls. Surely someone has said to him, look, just attack the game moving forward. And it's part of maturing as well. I'm not saying his whole personality is going to change, but I can just sense some anger just driving him to focus and just easily get that MVP. The Dallas Mavericks last season finished in 5th. Where do you see them finishing this season? Higher or lower?
Can I say it stays put?
You can.
I think they'll be they'll be similar. I think a lot rides on Porzingis, and obviously last year nothing really showed from that. But from watching his preseason games, he wasn't just camping out on the 3-point line. He was actually involved in the offense. So that could be positive signs. It might just be coming into a new season and trying a few new things, and it might revert back to the old. But that looked good. Finney-Smith, he was great in the playoffs. Even Hardaway Jr. looked good in the playoffs. So they do have some names there that can hold their own. Maxi Kleber can play, but it feels like the Atlanta Hawks. And I feel like Luka and Trey are always going to be compared to each other from this point on. But those teams sort of do feel the same, where it's very much a one-man band. Luka's MVP, weirdly enough, depends on how well the other players play.
Yep. Yeah, I'd have to probably agree. The West is so hard to pick. I'm gonna go up. I'm going to say that the Dallas Mavericks will finish higher than 5th. I reckon somehow they're going to either work it out or Luka's just going to charge them to... you got these teams like the Suns and the Jazz and the Denver Nuggets who will have a lot of the season without Jamal Murray. So I'm going to put the Mavs higher than 5th going into next season. I'm talking about the Denver Nuggets.
They're up.
That's who we're talking about. They're up. That's who we're talking about now. So they lost JaVale McGee and Paul Millsap. And they brought in...
Nothing's changed.
That's it. They brought in Jeff Green. Jeff Green can be a handy sort of addition sometimes off the bench. But no Murray until February or March. I mean, this is just it. It's like, that's just the main story. Of course, there's the development of Michael Porter Jr., but... So the Denver Nuggets finished 3rd, straight into it, without Jamal Murray for nearly the whole season. Where would you put them?
They'll be in the playoff hunt. I think Jokic... I should actually apologise. I didn't mention him when I was saying MVP candidates. He just won it. But no, Jokic will be up there in MVP, I think. He's going to improve again, and I think it's going to go one of either two ways. This is going to be not a blessing in disguise, but this is really going to give MPJ that opportunity to have a green light, and Jokic will be feeding the ball. He's going to get plenty of open looks, and there's absolutely no reason to blame him for taking too many shots at this point. It's either going to help the team for when Murray comes back and they've got a great third option there, or we're going to find out that Denver's overpaid Michael Porter Jr. way too much.
Yep.
And they're going to be just stranded there in that no man's land, like so many small market teams do, because they've got to overpay their young players.
I believe it. I believe in his career. I believe it'll be the former. I think that he will be great on offense, and they did a great acquisition last season by getting Aaron Gordon, because Jeremy Grant heading off to Detroit meant that the defensive downfalls of Michael Porter Jr. were no longer covered by Jeremy Grant, and Aaron Gordon helps make up for those defensive downfalls. So I believe in at least his offense, and in terms of a point guard and just to fill in for the moment, obviously there's big contracts, so you couldn't get someone too great. Austin Rivers, man, he's such a good plug-in point guard. He had some ripping games,
he actually
late for
did.
them last season.
It surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought I don't know. I thought enough teams had trialled Austin Rivers where we knew what he was going to do. But every time he goes somewhere, he still has something left in his bag. And I'm just waiting for that consistency to finally appear. But I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Nah, he's always going to be that exactly what he is now. He's that plug-in point guard. Maybe not even a... I don't know. I think he can be a backup point guard, but maybe not in the playoffs. Who knows? But anyway, the Denver Nuggets, I think, of course, will slide from third. But the power of Jokic, Gordon, we'll see what Bol turns into, and Michael Porter Jr. I don't think it'll be as big of a slide as some people might think, but definitely lower than third. Another quick one, like the Cavs. I know you love talking about the Detroit Pistons every year. They got the number one pick this year, JL. Cade Cunningham, who in a really great draft. Can you give them any optimism this season?
Yeah, I can. They've brought in two superstars. Cade Cunningham and Kelly Olynyk.
The clinic.
He's on. No, in all honesty, this is going to be a shit show of a season for Detroit, but that's okay. Because it's going to be another year of Grant, who we just mentioned, being that number one option. You've got Cunningham that can literally do whatever the fuck he wants. And, it's some players thrive in that environment as a first-year player. Others are much better when, they've only got 5-6 shots a night for the first few months and warm into it. But I think Cunningham's a good enough player where that works well for him. Just ultimate green light, and he can just go for it. Other than that, there isn't really much to talk about. Killian Hayes, I was really high on. He did have a few sort of moments there, towards the end of last season where he played well, but I'm just not sold yet. Sadiq Bey, though, was a great pickup. I think, was he the late first round or early second round? He had one game against...
Something like that.
I think he had 36 against Boston or something like that. He had like 7 threes. But,
Yeah, his 3 points. Yeah.
A power forward that can shoot. I don't know, there's potential there, but they're 2 to 3 years off pushing for the playoffs, let alone making any noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey was definitely a steal. I think it can be fun. They're turning into one of those up and coming from the bottom, fun teams to tune into every now and then and just watch the particular players develop. As we mentioned, Sadiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, and a little bit of Killian Hayes and that. They finished last season 15th. Can you see them finishing any higher? They can't go lower.
Who's going to get worse than them? Maybe Orlando.
Yeah, I was going to say, I reckon there's maybe one team that might.
Toronto, surely not. Cleveland, probably not. I think it's Detroit's to take out here. I reckon they're the only ones.
Imagine they get the number one pick again. Motor City will be buzzing next year. Anyway, moving on. The Golden State Warriors. What an interesting season we all have. Even neutral fans have to watch them. They have brought in Nemanja Bjelica, Chioza, Iguodala, Otto Porter, and they got rid of Kent Bazemore, Kelly Oubre. They signed... Did you see the whole Avery Bradley thing? How they signed Avery Bradley... And then he said...
He sucked up more than any player's ever sucked up.
Yeah. He said, no offense to the other organizations or to the other teams, but the Golden State Warriors is the best organization in the league or something or that I've ever been with. And then they waived him.
And for some reason... And they're not even like... I thought that was hilarious. But the fact that he was a good player in Boston, but that was about it. For a player of his caliber, he's been on great teams. He's played for the Celtics, the Lakers, Detroit, which we'll excuse, Miami. He's been on Golden State now. That is a good resume. And to talk about that after being there for a week, saying that the best organization top to bottom and then being cut, that is some ultimate ass kissing, and it made no difference.
And just as soon as I saw that they waived him, my just instinct, I'm like, if the Lakers have a spot, they'll sign him, and of course they have. They've picked him up off waivers, the Los Angeles Lakers, bringing the band back together. Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, Jordan Poole, One, Toscano, Anderson, Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, and Damian Lee have all been retained. And there's a name I left out there because let's talk about him, Klay Thompson. He's coming back, I think, around Christmas. First off, what are you expecting from Klay Thompson? Are we going to get the same Klay Thompson?
No.
Surely not.
No. He might be as good as he was offensively. I doubt it, but he might. But he definitely won't be able to defend like he used to. I mean, no one comes back from an ACL. Not many people come back from an ACL and can play like they used to. Not many people can come back from an Achilles injury and play like they used to. Combine the two of them.
Was it two ACLs or one ACL, one Achilles?
I think it was one ACL, one Achilles, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's been
definitely like
definitely
800 days, so maybe it's been two ACLs.
Because you can easily get mixed up with the DeMarcus Cousins stuff, but it's one of those. But anyway, go on.
But yeah, I just think if it's definitely been at least one ACL and one Achilles, and both of those, they're the two hardest injuries to come back from. I don't see him making any effort on defense really. Offensively, I still reckon he's going to be able to shoot. It's just about how well he gets around screens. But the Warriors have been so slow with him and patient with him. I think he'll be all right in terms of how well he's going to move. But I just don't think the effort's going to be there defensively.
So him coming back around Christmas, Steph Curry doing his whole MVP show again. My favourite player to watch in the league. They finished last season in 8th, but then they lost the play-in game, unfortunately, so didn't make the playoffs. They're finishing higher than 8th in the West this year?
Yes. Maybe. Yes. I don't know. No, I think they do. They're just going to have a bit more health this year. Obviously, having Klay back will help. I think they just feel a bit deeper this year, so I'm going to go with a very cautious yes.
I think that the Western, it's a bit of opposites here. The Eastern Conference with the Bulls and the Celtics, revving up, and you'd assume surely the Pacers and the Wizards all revving up a bit. You get a sort of a lot more teams getting in the fight in the East. In the West, I think we've got a bit of the opposite effect. Up to you at home to decide on your predictions about the Phoenix Suns. Nuggets have got no Murray. Clippers have got no Kawhi Leonard. The Mavericks always have Porzingis troubles. The Blazers, who knows? The Lakers, who knows with their age? I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's like some teams that are going to drop out of the 8 from last year. So I sort of agree with you. The Golden State Warriors, I'll go above 8th. They sort of had their uncertainty time, and I'll go above 8th, even if it is just 7th or whatever it ends up being. I'll take them above 8th. The Houston Rockets, talk about uncertainty. They lost Avery Bradley, Dante Exum. They brought in and then let go the dogs. They lost the clinic. They brought in Jalen Green, of course, but that's about it. Daniel Tice.
Don't you say that's about it and then try and slide Danny Tice in there subtly. Mate, he's going to be an ultimate weapon for him.
Yeah, they brought in a lot of rookies, but they've got DJ Augustine.
How's he still in the league?
Eric Gordon, Daniel House, KJ Martin Jr., Kevin Porter Jr. There we go.
I think he's
Christian Wood.
KPJ is going to be such an interesting one because I think for what was it, a top 55 protected pick, and obviously it was just because he had to get out of Cleveland. It wasn't like Cleveland thought that was his actual value; they just had to get rid of him. But he's already proven that he's worth that. Can he just hold it together? Like that's a man that's gone through some shit by the sounds of it and is struggling just to be in the NBA in terms of his health. I wonder if this is going to be a good chance for him to show how good he is because he played well for him like towards the end of last season. So they might have got a diamond in the rough here that's really going to turn out for him.
Yeah, I think they definitely have, and he's got a sort of agenda, a point to prove. He showed that last season, so I think he'll be nice for them. They finished last season 15th. They're finishing higher than that, you reckon?
stick them right where they are, I reckon. They're not moving.
Yeah. About there. There could be a couple of nightmares that happen in the West, but I'd have to say leave him at 15th.
Does John Wall get traded?
Moving. No. No, he gets paid too much. He just gets paid too much. It's like the Kevin Love situation. Of course, not as bad, but he would have to, I don't know, he would have to hack the computers at the NBA for me to find a trade for him, because as much as it seems like it's the situation that he would get traded, he's just getting paid too much.
He's getting paid like 10 mil more a season than Kyrie or something like that. So that puts it into perspective.
Who's going to take that contract? Anyway, let's smash through these last two. The Indiana Pacers. They've lost Aaron Holiday, which is sad, and Dougie McBuckets.
Doug, he's gone.
They brought in Torrey Craig, who I always like as an addition. Brad Wanamaker, but that's about it. They've re-signed Malcolm Brogdon. Don't know if they re-signed all their other main guys, but Karis LeVert, I'm sure, will be staying. So will Sabonis, Turner for the time being, and TJ Warren. Where the Pacers finished a humble 9th last season. Where are they finishing this season?
Bottom 3.
Whoa.
Yep. I'm calling it. Bottom 3.
Shit.
Bottom 3.
Calling it.
Yep.
Wow.
Karis LeVert is out for God knows how long. He's got stress fractures in his back. TJ Warren, I don't even know what injury he's got, but he's out, isn't he?
He was out. I'm not sure if he's back.
I feel like he's out for ages, but this might just be my off-season mind still being in place. And I just don't think Sabonis and Turner will ever work. So I think they're going to have to trade Turner at some point. And because he's sort of been on the market for so long, I don't think they're going to sell high. They're going to get a bag of chips for him. And it's not gonna help him win.
Yeah, that Turner Sabonis sort of, what are we calling it? An endeavor. Mm-hmm. The experience. I think that surely comes to an end within the next 9 months. Before the end of the trade deadline, this has got to be the time where Turner finally gets traded. I've got a bit more hope for the Pacers. New coach. They hated their coach last season.
And the year before that,
they got a new coach. Yeah,
they just
and the year
they
before
did.
that.
So I think is it the coach's issue, or is it the just the personnel?
Might be a bit of both, but hopefully it all works out for them. I've got them in the hunt for that, as I said, 5th and below spots. I'm going to say above 9th for the Pacers, even if they get...
You're cooking, Nath. You got no idea. This team is going to fall apart.
Because they finished 9th, right? And the only team that I can see jumping them is the Bulls. And if you told me that, like, for example, the Knicks sort of stuffed it up again, or the Wizards don't work out, which are above the Pacers, I'd believe you. So
Charlotte's better than Indiana. Chicago's better than Indiana. Surely Toronto are.
Charlotte's not better than Indiana.
Orlando will start the season 9-4 like they always do, and then they won't win a game for 3 months, but they'll be better than Indiana.
Let's move to the final team here, Los Angeles Clippers, and then this will end part 1. Kawhi is out for a long time. They've lost Pat Bev, DeMarcus Cousins, and Rondo. They've brought in Bledsoe and Justice Winslow. And Kawhi's out for a long time. Last season, the Clippers, man, they looked good in the playoffs. I'm sad that Kawhi got injured. They finished 4th. Finishing higher or lower than that?
Lower.
Surely lower.
Much lower. They'll make the playoffs, but I don't believe that Paul George can carry a team by himself. His best season was in 2018 where he finished 3rd in the MVP race. But, that was with Westbrook probably at his peak as well, being one of the best facilitators in the league at that point. The only other time we've really seen him lead a team was in Indiana, but he still had 2 or 3 other All-Stars around him. This season, don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't have high hopes for the Clippers this season. I think it'll be nice. I think they'll make the playoffs, but definitely lower than 4th for me. we'll see what happens with PG and Reggie Jackson and co. JL,
Yo.
thank you so much. I'll see you in the studio for the first time next week.
Mate, I can't wait to give you a cuddle.
Yes, we're finally out of a Melbourne lockdown. So next week we'll be in the studio for part 2, kicking off with the Los Angeles Lakers. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bronx Cheer Basketball Show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell wherever you are. We'll talk to you next week.